Unreliable, but in the original language is this word adelos, which is uncertain. It's obscure. It's unstable. It's the same kind of word that is used to communicate a mirage-like illusion. So what Paul is doing is that he's trying to communicate the deceptive nature of what it looks like to depend on money to be a foundation. So what he's saying is like, hey, it looks real, it looks authentic, it looks like it's 100%. You ever dated someone that it felt like it was too good to be true? God bless y'all. That's why we don't do relationship series here. You guys got it all together. But it's a mirage. It looks real. But what's interesting is about a mirage is that the closer you get to it, it looks like security from afar. But when you get close to it, you realize that it's a false reality. You realize that it's a false reality. And what Paul is saying, hey, when you begin to stack up your paper and you begin to see this, when you begin to, without even realizing it, you begin to shift your trust into something that gives you the illusion that you could anchor on it and you could place your step on it. But when you go to do so, it's no longer there. So what he's saying, he's like, hey, it's like a mirage-like thing that it looks the part, it acts the part, but the closer you become intimate with it, you realize that it was never anything to anchor your life on. And he says, this is adelos, it's unreliable. Like he's trying to say like, yo, this thing, trust me, it is so deceptive and convincing. And what happens is that you begin to believe the lie, and so you begin to shift. There's nothing wrong with getting money. There's nothing wrong with making a salary. There's nothing wrong with that. What happens is that when you become so accustomed to it that you think that it's good for a solid foundation. And so the problem happens is when you begin to shift the thing that you're anchoring your life on. And what a lot of God's children have done is that they have seen their job, their salary, their gains as their provider and not as God's provision. And when you begin to see your salary and your paycheck as your provider, then you have a limited source. But when you begin to see God as your provider, you realize that your job is only the provision that your provider has given you. Do you get that? Yeah. So then I see that God is my provider. He's not my provision. My job is not my provider. My job is the provision of my provider. And when you begin to see that, you understand that God is the source, and the money that you got and the job you got and the salary you got is just the resource that the source has given you. And so you understand that God is the ocean and money is just the waves that come and go. You understand that God is the master key and money is just the doors that he's called you to unlock and open. You understand that God is the source and God is the one you chase after because money runs out, but his grace and favor never runs out in your life. And so when you know that God is your source, you walk different, you talk different, you live different, you give different, you act different because he's your source. He's the one that can do exceedingly abundantly all that he can ever ask for or think. He's the one that can supply all your needs according to his glorious riches. He is the source. So what God does is that he wants to know from you, who's your source?